We've got our bug house here created, the part of what we are doing created, but we want to assign some materials to our bug house, and we want to make sure that it's positioned all in the correct way. Can you see, if I look at my block up here, it actually thinks the front, if I click on that area there, is the side, and I know that that's wrong, so it's got that wrong. I'm just going to come back up and I'm going to click on the side that should be the front, or position it in a way that should be the front. Now with it positioned like that, I'm going to hover over this home button and right click, and then I'm going to come down and set current view as front. Okay, so that's a really good tip for getting your part around the right way, especially when you export it later. I'm next going to click on this top corner, because I always like things to be in 3D when they were in this 3D model. But if you, I'm going to just right click one more time on this home with it in that position and go to set current view as home and fit to view. So that's just above where you were a minute ago, fit to view. Once you've done that, if you come over and kind of use your orbit tool and kind of moving things around, anytime you now hit that home button, it will go back to that view, and that's really helpful and handy and a good little shortcut for us. Now, we want to assign our materials. The quickest way for us to do this is to come up to this button here, click on that button. We are using a mixture of pine and plywood. So the first thing I'm going to do is select the material that we were using for the sides. So pine. So I'm going to search for pine in my dialog box there, and I've got this yellow pine here. So the next way to do this and to assign it to the sides is to come and hover over the extrusions that were your size and the areas that you cut out. So we're going to hover over extrusion 1, extrusion 2, and the next is actually the mirror extrusion, and then lastly this batten that you've done down the middle, that one there. They're all going to be pine, so highlight all of those areas and then hit this kind of little arrow here. That assigns the material to the document, and it also assigns it to whatever you've highlighted. I would then click off of that, so none of those extrusions are highlighted, and then search for, well, you could search for plywood, but what we have on here for plywood is not very good. But the plywood we do have is birch faced. So I'm going to search for birch there, and we do have this, which looks quite good. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing, but for now, the base, so that's extrusion 3, and then the two roofs that I did, so this extrusion 4 and extrusion 5. They're all going to be made out of plywood, which has a birch face. And then you can just click on this arrow here, like that. And that's now assigned that material to the top there. Okay? And that has now created a nice sort of file. Now, if you want to take a picture of that, screenshot that now, that will show you how well you've made your product. You might decide that you want to screenshot it from the front end as well. A couple of little tips for how you might render it I will show you in the next video for those of us who are experts.